I was juggling like 101 different things. The numbers and the stats that can cost me my living just so that I can prove that person wrong. That was why I started making art in the first place, and that was why I loved it. And then I kind of lost it along the way. And now I want to get that back. Hello. Hi. Oh my god. This is definitely a little bit strange because I haven't sat and talked in front of a camera in a really long time. Yeah, I wanted to make this video because I actually have so much to say. This might be a fairly long video, so I mean, if you want to just listen to me put it on in the background, whatever. You might not have heard of me before, in which case my name's Karina, but I used to release a lot of music in the year 2023 is when I was most active, but also 2022, and I started in around 2020. So obviously I'm going to be talking about why I haven't released any music in over 2 years and where I've been, but also just like a lot of stuff, the music industry, the whole idea about like what being a music artist means, like my relationship to music and how that's changed growing up. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff, so yeah, if that sounds interesting, then keep watching. So yeah, let's just get into it. Why haven't I released any music in over 2 years? Well, I guess if I was to like summarize it or put it down to like one main reason, I would say that I was not feeling aligned with the art that I was putting out, and that doesn't just include the music, like it was the whole sort of artistic identity I had at the time, and I needed a break. I didn't even like intentionally try and take a break, I just kind of did, and to be honest, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I made my first 2 EPs when I was legit a child. Like, I'm 21 now, but I made my first EP when I was 15, 16, and I made my second one when I was 17, 18. I mean, when we're like 15 to 18, we do a lot of things that isn't really like aligned with the core of who we are, and do you know what I mean? So like, it makes complete sense that I didn't really have the greatest idea about what I wanted to make at the time, and because also, I was juggling like 101 different things. Like, a lot of people who I've met and know of me from like the whole music world or whatever don't know that I actually like, music has never been my only thing. In my A-levels I did like maths and computer science and psychology. Now I literally go to UCL. So yeah, I've been doing a bunch of different other stuff. Even though at a certain point I was really treating music like a career and pouring a lot of my energy into it, a lot of people didn't really see the behind the scenes of that, which was that was never my only thing, and I was focusing on a lot of other stuff, and to be honest, I always will. I think now that I'm older, I've realised like I am to my core a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, that is my vibe, and it's weird because like for a long time I felt really weird about that, because the thing is like I know a lot of musicians who are really content with like music being their only thing and like their entire world and like their life's purpose, and I'm gonna dedicate my whole life to music and my craft, and I think that that's really cool. And like, also on the other side of the coin, I've met loads of people in school and in uni who are very dedicated to that traditional career route and they don't want to try anything outside of the box. Neither of those are me. I'm not the kind of person who wants to just do that or just do that. And I haven't met like a lot of people who want to do both. So I felt very, very conflicted about that for a long time, especially like when I was so young. Like when you're a teenager, you feel very insecure all of the time, and you're always looking at like what your peers are doing for kind of like guidance as to whether you're on the right track. And because I didn't feel like I had really any friends or anything who were kind of like pursuing both in that way, I mean, now I feel like I do, but for a long time I felt like I didn't. I didn't really know how to come to terms with that. And so I think I needed a little bit of a break from both in a way to try and like figure out what my approach was going to be, and like, because I just felt very insecure is what I'm trying to say. And I guess that like the conclusion that I've come to on the music side is that I'm actually really not interested in the whole idea of like being a music artist. And like let me explain what I mean by that, because it's something that I've literally spent like 2 years thinking about. You know, for so long I didn't really have time to like think about that, because I was so focused on doing the school and the studying and the music, and I didn't have time to think about like, what do I actually want, because I was just so busy. I think that for me, the kind of art that I have always really loved is art that is being used as a tool to kind of articulate human experiences, rather than art for its own sake and just for the sake of being really good art. What I mean by this is, I think for a long time I thought that I wanted to be an artist, when what I actually wanted was to have my artistry be a medium through which to express or communicate my personhood. Stay with me, because I know that sounds like a lot. The kind of art which is just like a really excellent articulation of human experience. That's what I've always really loved, and especially the kind of human experience that isn't articulated often. Do you know what I mean? So like, there's a trillion billion great songs written about romantic love, about all of that, romantic love, falling in love, falling out of love, breakups, whatever. But how many great songs are there written about the uncomfortability of growing older, or the feeling where you wake up in the morning and you've woken up too late and your whole day starts out on a stressful note? Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many human experiences that are universal that there aren't any great songs written about. That's the stuff that I really love. Like, my favourite songs are the songs that are like that. And that's the kind of stuff that I want my art to express, is like those universal human experiences that we all experience, but isn't often articulated because everyone's always talking about the fucking breakup. Anyway, my point being, like, the whole idea of like being an artist is kind of antithesis to that philosophy that I'm trying to cultivate, because I don't really want to make art for its own sake. I want to use art. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And this is not me shitting on people who want to dedicate their whole life to being an artist and honing their craft. Like, this is really not me shitting on that. I think it's really cool when people do that. That's just not the kind of art that I'm personally interested in consuming or creating. That's just, you know, it's just not the kind of art that resonates with me, and that's fine. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, I think I needed a few years to work on being a person so that then I could be better at being the kind of artist that I really wanted to be, if that makes sense. Here's the thing, right? Here's the issue with that kind of philosophy, is it really requires letting go of a lot of shit to do with my own ego. Because, you know, like, when I think about my ego, there is a part of me that really wants or has this fantasy of becoming like a very traditionally successful artist, especially when I think about people who have maybe not believed in me in the past, and, you know, my ego really wants to prove those people wrong and be like, okay, you didn't believe in me, I now want to go and play like headline at a festival just so that I can prove that person wrong, or whatever. And then you start getting in a thing of like, I need to do this, I need to get this, when actually, like, that is not actually deeply important to me. Like, maybe there's a part of me that wants that stuff, but like, when I think about what I really want to do, it's really not any of that stuff. There are specific things that really like trigger my ego in that way. Like, oh my god, the numbers and the stats. I have a weakness for that because I study that stuff in school. It grinds my gears because I start thinking like, oh, I need to increase them, like what can I do to like maximize, and like I start thinking like that, and it's just bullshit because it's not aligned with what I'm interested in doing with my art, and it's not aligned with the kind of art that I want to create. And when I start thinking like that is when I start making artistic decisions that I don't feel proud of. I have made artistic decisions like that have been more motivated by my own ego, and you know, I've made stuff that's a little bit more highly produced and not that kind of like DIY authentic stuff that I genuinely really love. And yes, it was really fun making like that kind of, you know, making a music video that's like really high budget. Like I've done that and it was really fun, but ultimately, even though it was really fun and I had a great time doing it, like I had a fantastic time doing it, don't get me wrong, those kinds of stuff have never been the things that I've been the most proud of creating, because it's not that real, like authentic stuff that is really coming from here and is really being driven by like my desire to use art as a tool, like that kind of what I was talking about. And so yeah, having to like kind of reckon with my own ego has been like a whole thing. It's something I'm still working on and will always have to work on. I mean, we all have an ego, but like I think that especially when you want your art to be your career, it's extremely difficult to separate your ego from the art that you're making, and let me kind of go into that a little bit more. So a lot of people who make music, their goal is like, I want my music to be the way that I make my money and I want it to be my career, which is so valid, and that was my goal too. That was my goal. But what I've kind of discovered is if you're coming from that position, the more you kind of really want that, the more difficult it is to separate your ego. Because like, okay, let's say other people are not impressed by this piece of art that I really connect with. Like if they're not impressed by it, that can cost me my living, like that can cost me my income. And so then I'm like, okay, I need to use my ego. I need to figure out what it is that other people want from me, because otherwise I'm not going to have any money. Like your ego then becomes like actually useful because you have that other perspective of like, I need to make a living. And so then you end up making things or making artistic decisions that aren't really necessarily what you want to do, but more just a means to an end. And I know loads of people who are happy with, like, they're happy being in that position, they're happy operating from that position, but I think I'm not. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to be, because ultimately, like, as I said earlier, I have a lot of other things that I'm happy to do as something to make a living. If I get to a position where I can still make the art that I want to make and also make a living off it, then I'm not going to turn that down. But I'm not interested in making art that I don't want to make as a means to an end so that I can eventually get to that goal, if that makes sense. I want to make art because art has always been an outlet for me. It's always been a tool for me. That's how I started making it. Like, when I made my first EP in 2020, it was from that kind of philosophy that I've been talking about, of like using art as a tool to express my human experiences, express my personhood. That was why I started making art in the first place, and that was why I loved it. And then I kind of lost it along the way. And now I want to get that back. And I am getting that back. So yeah. That's why I quit music. What does that mean for me nowadays? Like, how is it different? How is my approach to making music and everything different now than it used to be? Well, I don't know. Before I was kind of talking about like the whole ego thing of like wanting to be traditionally successful, but like not really wanting it deep down, but wanting it because of my ego and like the fact that my ego is so tied to the art that I'm making. because it's so linked to my artistic identity, which is a whole like another thing about like, this is a tangent, but another thing about like having the identity of like being a musician or whatever is it really impacted my social life in a way that I don't like. Like, I guess like I didn't really like the fact that for a while everyone was like, oh, this is Karina, she does music. Music became like one of the first things people said when they mentioned my name, which like I am proud of the music that I make, but like I think in a social setting, like sometimes that's not always what I want. Like sometimes I just want to be like, hi, that's why I actually go by like a nickname now with most of like my friends. Most of my friends don't actually call me Karina because I have now like mentally like linked that with my music identity. But anyway, that's a whole tangent. What I said about like I used to really chase that kind of like traditional idea of success. You know, you may be thinking like, if you don't want to be traditionally successful, like what the fuck do you want then? Like, you know, and it's like that whole idea about like a tree in a forest. Like, of course, if I'm releasing music, I do want someone to hear it. Like, if I didn't want anyone to hear it, then I just wouldn't release it. And I make music all the time that I don't release, you know? So why am I releasing it then if I don't care about like anyone hearing it? Well, I don't care about loads of people hearing it, and I don't care about numbers, and I don't care about traditional ideas of success, but I do want some people to hear it. But honestly, I've now decided that my new target when it comes to like anything that I put out, like this video for instance, I just want one person. And if I meet the target of one person, then I've met my goal. Because like, you know, when we think about like like what music used to be, like when we were back in the hunter-gatherer era or whatever, like it was just people sitting around a campfire and singing songs. Like what, 5 people? Sometimes just one person and one other person. And like that was the whole fucking point, is like music is supposed to connect humans together, and it doesn't matter how many people I reach with something that I've made. Like if I reach one person, then that's all I wanted to do. Like I wanted to make music so that I can feel human, and then share it so that I can feel human. And if that's only one person, that's good enough. Like that's goal achieved, like, you know? And I don't know, maybe that sounds like really hippie or whatever, but that's just kind of the conclusion that I've come to now, because I'm just not interested in all of that ego bullshit. I just want to make stuff that I like, you know? And yeah, and so also like I kind of have been really delving into what is it that I really like, you know? Obviously I already know kind of what I like, but like you can always get to know that more. And so like this year I've been really spending a lot of time listening to a lot of music. Like I'm reviewing 120 albums, and then I'm gonna hopefully make a video where I kind of like compile all my reviews and everything, and that's been so fun because it's like I've listened to so much more music than I normally do, and so much music that I don't normally listen to, and it's really like helped me figure out like what I really like, you know, what is it that I love, and yeah, that's really helped. And yeah, I am gonna be releasing stuff. I don't want to like talk too much about it because it's still in the works, but yes, I do have stuff that I am planning on releasing, and my hiatus will soon come to an end, so that's really exciting. And if you were a fan of my music, which like there's not loads of you, but there are some of you. If you are a fan, then stay tuned. I will keep you updated on that process. So yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was fun to watch. And yeah, as I say, if you're watching this right now, then I've met my goal. Thanks. High five. Thank you for helping me reach that goal of reaching one person. But yeah, one person. Anyone else is a bonus, truly. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Yeah, stay tuned. I love you. Bye.